gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. We have college football for you today. No Alex, once again. We hope to get him back next week. We'll see.
Pray for Alex.
Big loss. Okay. We'll start with the Big Ten scoreboard. Purdue beats Nebraska 31-27. Illinois with a big win over Rutgers 38-10. And Indiana beats Northwestern 34-3. Anything to say about these games?
No, nothing surprising.
Just when you thought Indiana was on track to win 10 games this year, their Heisman candidate quarterback goes down for the year, which of course the only game he played in the entire year was against Michigan State, and then all of a sudden, I'm injured and now I can't play, and now I got Peyton Ramsey in the game. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know what it is. Is it, it could be racism. I don't know. There's a reason why he's hurt. I don't know what it is. But every time he plays, Indiana wins big. And he played extremely well this past week against Northwestern. It's really unfortunate. Pretty solid game for Nebraska. Almost pulling off the upset against Purdue. They're building up. And Illinois, shame on them for being tied with Rutgers at halftime.
Purdue gets that win, but that's an embarrassing win, honestly, because Nebraska is a joke of a football team, and they need to disband that program. They are terrible. They need to be expelled from the Big Ten. They're a joke.
They could still make a bowl.
They're terrible.
Purdue's not going to make a bowl. They're like 2-6.
No, Purdue's going to win out.
Okay.
Illinois, that's a big win. Part of that was because of quarterback guru Lovie Smith really coaching him up. Brandon Peters played really well.
The defensive quarterback guru.
No, yeah, that's right. Quarterback guru.
That's why his quarterbacks are doing so well, or they're winning games, because actually he's coaching the other team's defense, and he's actually a defensive coach, and he sucks so much that it helps Illinois win.
No, he's a quarterback guru. He's proved it over his long tenure of coaching.
Yeah, really, Illinois is basically QBU when you look back at the talent they've had. Jeff George Jr., just a ton of talented guys there.
I could not name a single quarterback that came out of Illinois.
Well, if you think about it, you got to go back to I don't even remember.
That's embarrassing. You got to be able to name quarterbacks.
Well, Jeff George Jr.
Indiana, that's a solid win. They're a pretty good team.
They're a 10-2 football team if they had Penix.
Huh?
They're a 10-2 football team if they had Penix. They beat Penn State and Michigan, but they don't have Penix, so they're not going to win those two games.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Michigan dominates Maryland 38-7. Reaction?
They should dominate Maryland because Maryland sucked. They shouldn't even. The fact that the Big Ten even invited them to the conference is a joke. And they should have beaten them by more. The fact that they're only scoring 38 points on Michigan shows that their offense still hasn't hit stride yet, and that they should.
No, we hit our stride after the Iowa game. Remember?
Yeah. Well, Michigan and Michigan fans should be worried come the end of the year because I don't know what's their record now. 7-2. Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to make a bowl.
Haven't thought about that one. Interesting. Michigan did not dominate Maryland in this game. Maryland actually dominated Michigan, but because of just how terrible of a coach Mike Locksley is, they found a way to not turn that domination into points. Maryland dominated the first half. Let's not say anything that it's not. Maryland dominated that first half. Michigan couldn't move the football if you paid them. Second half, a little bit better. Michigan just can't run the football. And when they can't run the football, they can't throw the football, then their offense sucks. So what I'm expecting teams to do against Michigan is load the box and force overrated Shea to pass, which is exactly what Maryland did. and they had some decent success. Of course, Michigan State probably won't do that. They'll probably rush 3 and drop 8 in coverage and just let Michigan run all over us. But we'll see what happens when that day comes.
It only works for the 3 quarters, and then cardiac shit Patterson comes up in the 4th quarter.
Excuse me? What Shea Patterson?
Cardiac Shea Patterson.
Choke Shea Patterson?
He always plays well in 4th quarters.
Yeah, so does Lewerke.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, well, even against Penn State, Lewerke had his only touchdown in the 4th quarter.
That's going to be interesting next week then when it's 0-0 in the 4th quarter. Which quarterback will be able to get their team a field goal first?
Well, if Rocky was playing, I'd give it to Rocky. No doubt about it.
This is a solid win. The offense was okay, good enough. That's what they need to be. They need to be good enough. Shea Patterson was pretty good. Did his job in this game. I'm still concerned about the run game, but they did run the ball pretty well against Notre Dame, so that's all right. And the defense, I was very impressed with the defense. You could talk about what they want about the yards. They want the yards. They don't love the yards. That's just that. He loves the yards. The only thing that matters is points. And you have 7 points. That's all that matters.
Well, Chris, I mean, I know before the season you were hyping up the 7th-year sophomore Josh Jackson, but he is god-awful. And that Maryland offense is terrible.
It doesn't have a good supporting cast.
Talk about the biggest overreaction. It might be the biggest overreaction.
I'm pretty sure he's a junior, by the way, not a senior.
No, I said sophomore, or whatever he is. I don't know what he is.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, he's going to be back next year. Maryland's going to be a force for
the
first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, the biggest overreaction in college football history was when Maryland beat Howard 79-0, and everybody said Maryland had the greatest offense in college football history. Turns out they're one of the 3 worst offenses in the Big Ten. They're even worse than Michigan State, which is pretty hard to do. Their offense is terrible. Their offensive line is awful. No receivers. Running backs the only position they're good at, and you need more than running backs to win in the Big Ten. So they suck. But Michigan sucks too. So
Listen, Chris, if Michigan's gonna have any chance to beat Ohio State, they're gonna have to score more points against teams like Maryland. They let up 7 points. That's an infinite more amount of points than Ohio State let up to Maryland this year. So they have some serious problems if they're gonna try to make a run here.
By the way, I forgot to put a Chase Young slide in here, but that Ohio State game is one of the first games we're picking, so we can talk about that then. All right, heads up. Okay, Georgia takes care of Florida.
Are we going to talk about James Wiseman?
No, we'll talk about that on the basketball podcast next week.
Oh, okay.
Georgia, what were you talking about St. Thomas and the sham that happened?
We need Alex on that. He's a pro on Memphis basketball, so we need Alex on that.
It's actually why Alex isn't on today. He's mourning the James Wiseman news.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Georgia takes care of Florida 24-17. Does this have playoff implications?
I don't really think so. I don't think Florida is as good of a win as people are giving it. I think they're a really good team, but I just don't see them as a great win. The whole SEC, on top of the SEC, excluding Alabama and LSU, not even the SEC, just all around the country, the teams that aren't at the top, that kind of second-tier teams, all seem to be beating up on each other. Notre Dame, Georgia, Michigan, Florida. It's all I couldn't tell you who's the best out there because no one's coming out as a clear favorite.
Georgia's defense is one of the best in the country. Unfortunately, their offense is mediocre at best. I'm trying to figure out who had the biggest drop-off, Jake Browning or Jake Fromm, because my gosh, both quarterbacks have dropped off so bad from their sophomore to their senior years. It's ridiculous. Jake Browning couldn't throw a football by the end of his senior year, so I guess Jake Fromm's a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have any playoff implications, I don't think. I think Georgia's going to get pummeled in the SEC championship game against either LSU or Alabama, just because their offense can't keep up. And yeah, their defense might keep them in the game, but their offense isn't good enough. And for Florida, terribly coached game from Dan Mullen. I don't like him at all. I didn't like him when he was at Mississippi State. He's not a good football coach. Florida needs to move on like Florida State did with Willie Taggart. Chris?
Similar? All right.
Georgia still has a chance to make the playoff. Obviously, if they win out, I don't think it's going to happen. They play at Auburn next week. I don't think that's going to end well for them. Florida, I know everybody likes to just put the team away, put everybody away after they lose their second game. But be aware of what Florida can do here. Georgia's got some tough games ahead. They have Missouri this week. They have Auburn next week. If they
Missouri.
lose both those games, Florida wins out, and they win the SEC, then Florida, I think, would get in if they get some help. But that's probably unlikely. But, this does have big playoff implications. This is a big win for Georgia. Just a little bit more talent than Florida. Dan Mullen's team's on the rise, though. So
No. He's a crappy football coach. He needs to be fired.
he's a great coach.
He hasn't
He's a great coach.
he hasn't done enough to for him to keep his job. I don't think he's done enough in his first couple of years there. You have to beat Georgia. You have to win the SEC if you're at Florida. If you don't do it in your first 2 years, you got to be fired. So that happened with Jim McElwain, who I think
he's riding Jim McElwain's coattails. If it wasn't for Jim McElwain recruiting Dan Mullen, would be where he is right now.
I actually think Jim McElwain's a better coach. I mean, look at the job
Okay.
he.
All right.
No.
He's laying naked on sharks.
At Mississippi State.
Chris, look. No. Okay, look at the job Jim McElwain has done at Central Michigan. They are bowl eligible this year after going 1-11 last year. The job he's done there is unbelievable. He's one of the best coaches in college football, and Florida got rid of him for no reason. And then you got Dan Mullen, who hasn't won jack shit in his entire college career, and everybody's trying to say he's the greatest coach in Florida history. Give me a freaking break.
Dan Mullen had his team, Mississippi State, ranked number 1 in the country.
Oh, that was once. That was one time.
And, he's a great
Chris.
recruiter. He recruited Dak Prescott.
Kirk Ferentz was number 1 in the country once, too. It happens. Okay?
Kirk Ferentz, a big-time coach.
Yeah, no, he's not. He hasn't won the Big Ten since Michigan's won the Big Ten. He's a crappy coach.
Let's move on. Will the loser of the LSU-Alabama game still get in the playoffs?
No.
Why?
Because Minnesota will.
That's a great point.
Why?
You'll have. I think there are too many. I think they have a good shot, but I think there are too many teams. You still have Oklahoma. We'll probably get in over them if they're a conference champ. You still have an undefeated Baylor that could possibly get in. You have the Big Ten champs going to get in, assuming they only have one loss or no losses. So, and if anything, right as the committee showed, Penn State almost has a better argument. The loser of Penn State Ohio State almost has a better argument than the LSU Alabama loser.
Yep. If Alabama loses, they're out. If LSU loses, they're still in the conversation, but it would still be a long shot for them to get in.
If Alabama
all right.
If Alabama loses, they're out.
The loser of this game is not out. I
If-
don't mind
if-
saying
no.
but every team.
If you don't make it, listen, look at this year. No, Chris. Every conference this year is looking like they might have a one-loss team. Every single conference. What?
Yeah. Hold on. I want to. Okay. Before the season, you said every conference in college football will have 7 undefeated teams.
No, Chris. Obviously they're not out, but I think if LSU loses, I think they still have a decent shot.
Okay,
if
yeah.
Alabama loses, I think they're a long shot.
Correct. Yeah. It would take. It would have to take a 2,000.
A couple years ago, Luke.
What?
It did it a couple years ago.
Yeah, but that's when they actually played a decent schedule. This year, they haven't played anybody. They do still have to play at Auburn. I don't care.
Chris.
They have the worst like strength of schedule in the Power 5.
Exactly. No,
Okay.
I mean,
Alabama.
no. Let me say something, okay? The only way if Alabama loses this game, the only way they lose to LSU at home. The only way Alabama could get in is if something like 2007 happened, where Kansas was ranked number 1 in the frickin' country, and you had USF number 2 in the country, BC 2 in the country, Oregon State 2 in the country. It would have to take a monumental collapse for Alabama to get into the playoff.
Alabama would need a lot to happen. They would need Oklahoma to lose again, Oregon to lose again. They need probably Ohio State. They need either Ohio State and Penn State to have 2 losses. They need Minnesota not to win the Big Ten. They need Baylor to not win the Big 12. They need Oklahoma to probably lose again. They need Baylor to lose again. They need so many teams to lose.
Luke.
All right.
Luke,
Alabama.
no. Serious question here. Would you rather have a 2-loss UCF or a 1-loss Alabama in the playoff?
Okay. Alabama. We'll say that the American. There's only 2 conferences that have more ranked teams in the American right now.
Exactly.
The American's a tough conference. Alabama, if they lose this game, let's take a look at the playoff. At that point, people would start assuming it's probably going to be Ohio State or Penn State, whatever. Ohio State or Penn State, Clemson, and LSU as your top 3. Yep. And after that, you could either go to a Big 12 champion, Oklahoma or Baylor, or a Pac-12 champion, Oregon or Utah. Yep. Or you go, or if Ohio State or Penn State's 1 loss, and their 1 loss is to the other one. They have a chance too. So here's what I look at as the committee. If Alabama loses this game, they're definitely going to be in a worse position than if LSU loses this game. But if Alabama loses, wait. Plus you have the loser of SEC championship game, or the winner of the SEC championship game. LSU could win. Yeah, if it's not LSU, but they would get it. That would be no brainer. They'd get in. At Alabama, they would probably need Oklahoma to lose 1 more time, and Baylor not to go undefeated. And they need LSU to win the SEC championship game. Probably, yeah. They need LSU to win the SEC championship game, and they would need the Pac-12 champion to have 2 losses. Yeah, they need a lot to happen. If LSU loses this game, I don't think it even matters to LSU. If they lose this game, they're getting in the playoff. I don't care. Anybody says they're making the playoffs or lose this game, finish the season undefeated.
That's freaking ridiculous. You have to win. You have to win your conference. That's so ridiculous.
Well, the committee told us that a couple of years ago. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, LSU. Who is LSU beating? 7-5 Texas. I mean, give me a break.
Texas, Florida, also a different committee. Okay, LSU, if they lose this game, they're getting in the playoff. They would get in over Oregon or Utah. They would get in over Baylor or Oklahoma. They're easily in. I mean, if they lose, what are they going to drop to? 4?
Okay, if they lose, I'm taking the Pac-12 champ over them, and I do.
No.
Yeah, I am.
So, Chris, I'm not talking about what you want, what you would do. What is the committee going to do?
No, that is what the committee's going to do. That is what they're going to do.
That is one of the most absurd things I've ever heard.
You have to win your conference. Gotta win your conference.
No, you don't. Chris, if LSU loses, then they would still need probably Ohio State to beat Penn State, because if Penn State beats Ohio State, and then Ohio State beats Michigan, then Ohio State's going to get in over LSU. Yeah, probably.
Listen,
but, Penn State is not going to beat Ohio State. So.
Okay, so listen, it really matters on if it's a close loss, LSU has a chance. If LSU gets blown out, they have 0 chance of getting into the playoff, which is totally possible. It could be a close game, or it could be a blowout.
Okay, this is what happens every year. I believe last year, I think who did Oklahoma? Who was their 1 loss last year? Iowa State, wasn't it? Iowa State.
No. It was Texas. Texas.
He marched on this podcast. Oklahoma has no chance. Drop them from the top 25. They're a terrible team. They have no chance of making the playoffs.
Well, no, that's
They
just for the I overreact for the entertainment value of the podcast.
Okay.
No, I mean, listen, LSU, they have to keep this game close. If they lose by a field goal at the buzzer, then okay, yeah, they're in the top 4 or 5 teams. I would still take Oregon over them. I would still take Utah over them.
That's so ridiculous.
No, I mean, if you win your conference, I don't care what conference you're in. You could be in the Conference USA. I would still put you in over LSU.
I don't know if I would say that, but I just think there's a lot. I think there's just a lot to happen. Still to happen. I think you can't really go projecting until the last 2 weeks of the year, really.
This could be another TCU type year where a team that has a really good argument is left out. And if that happens to a big fan base like LSU or Alabama, we're going to 8 teams. Because it happened to TCU and nobody gives a shit about TCU. So they didn't, nobody really cared. And that was the first year of the 14 playoff anyway. But if it happens to LSU or Alabama this year, it's going to 8. It's going to 8 teams by 2025. Because those fan bases aren't going to take that.
All right. Yeah, Mike and second Civil War. Okay. Can the winner of Penn State, Ohio State get in? The loser of Penn State, Ohio State.
Can the winner of... I don't know if the winner can get in. Let me think.
The loser of
yeah, no crap they can get in. What kind of question is that?
The loser of Penn State, Ohio State, can they get in? Yeah. It's again the same thing with the LSU Alabama question. There's so much that can happen. There's so many scenarios that can play out. I think it's a little early, but I think the loser, especially if Ohio State loses. If Ohio State loses, I think they have a lot better case than if Penn State loses. But if Ohio State loses and then beats Michigan, I think they can definitely still get in. If Penn State loses, I think it's a lot harder argument for them.
Here's the thing. I don't see Ohio State losing to Penn State in any way unless somebody gets hurt. And if somebody gets hurt, the committee's already shown that they can give some leeway when Ohio State had their injuries in 2014. So,
that's because they proved it.
What?
That's because Ohio State went out and proved that it didn't matter. And put up 56 on
and
Wisconsin.
Ohio State also made the playoff when they didn't win their conference. When Penn State won the conference, was it 2016 or 2017?
Yeah, but you have to win your conference. Have to.
Well, yeah, that was a great example of that because Ohio State got smoked because they didn't belong in it. They didn't belong in the playoff that year.
Alabama didn't win their conference and won the national championship.
They didn't belong in there because Nick Saban is one of the smartest coaches. He understood if he lost that Auburn game, he wouldn't even have to play the conference championship game. So he lost that game on purpose just to get in the playoff. And
no, he got an extra week of
exactly.
Study film.
Listen, this opens up a loophole for coaches to do stuff like that. When Ohio State could do this. If they are so dominant, I don't think Ohio State really can't do it, but and they wouldn't do it. Ohio State's so dominant they don't try against Michigan because they know they're going to get in.
They throws the game against Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. You throw them a bone. But no,
the conference looks more competitive.
I don't see Penn State winning this game, so I don't see them. If they keep it close, and LSU beats Alabama, I think they have a better case than Alabama does. Do they have a better case than Oregon? No. Do they have a better case than Utah? I don't think so either. Because look at Penn State. What is their signature?
This is assuming they win their conference championship, right? Oregon and Utah.
Yeah. I think Oregon and Utah is going to match up in the conference championship, both 12, 11, and 1. But
yes, it's impossible for them to lose the rest of the season.
Yeah, but it's not 0% chance. But listen, Penn State doesn't have that signature win. So it's going to be tough for them to get in. You got to have that signature win if you're not a conference champion to get in, or you have to be a great team. I don't think Penn State's a great team. I think they're a very good team, but coaching really holds them back.
Shane Franklin, they're not elite.
Yeah, they suck.
Ohio State, if they lose to Penn State, especially if it's a close game, and they run the table, they have a good chance, I think. Penn State, if they lose to Ohio State, they probably need a lot to happen. But yes,
both these teams can get
Oh,
in if they
whoa.
lose.
Wait. This is a perfect opportunity for Ryan Day to say, oh, I'm not going to try here, lose a close game on purpose. Then he doesn't have to go to the conference championship game, get another week of film in, absolutely obliterate Michigan, and there you go, you're in the playoff.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on. Will the Pac-12 get a team in?
Again, there's a lot that can happen, but I don't think so. I mean, because we're assuming that the SEC champ is going to get in, because we're assuming they're going to have one loss or less. The Big Ten champ, we're assuming is going to get in, because it's either going to be Penn State, Ohio State, or Minnesota, they should have one less loss or less. And, well, if it's Minnesota, they probably won't get in unless they're undefeated. But so
Minnesota. Okay. All right. Oh, okay.
If Minnesota goes undefeated,
all right, Luke. But you're saying something that's irrational. Have you seen Minnesota's schedule to end the season?
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, if the Big Ten champ will get in, whether that's Minnesota, Penn State, or Ohio State.
That's even irrational to even entertain that it could possibly be Minnesota.
Well, you would have also said it was irrational to say they were going to be 8-0 at this point of the year.
No, because they haven't played anybody. Their best team plays Nebraska.
Okay, well, the Big Ten champ, let's assume, gets in. The SEC champ, let's assume, gets in. And let's assume Clemson runs the table and they're going to get in.
Oh.
So that means you have probably Oklahoma or Baylor, the Big 12 champ, the Oregon, Utah, plus probably Penn State or Ohio State, plus LSU or Alabama or even Florida, Georgia. So I think there's a shot, but I think there's so much. That last spot might be the most interesting pick to see what the committee does of the entire playoff. That out of all the years they've been doing it.
Yeah, and you also have to think about these two teams are probably going to be ranked like 5 and 6, or Utah and Oregon 5 and 6 when they play each other. And if somebody wins that game, it's going to be tough to leave them out, especially if they won loss. No, I think a Pac-12 team will get in. Cause I think Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon is a top 4 team right now in the country. Utah, I think Utah is very good. I don't think if Utah, let's just say if Utah beats Oregon, I don't think Utah will get in, but if Oregon beats Utah, I think they will get in. I think it'll be Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, and Oregon. And that would be a pretty solid playoff. I think the Big 12 is screwed. I don't see them getting in the playoff.
Well, if you have an undefeated Baylor.
I don't trust Baylor. I think they're good.
Either, but they have somewhat of a tough schedule, but it's not. They only have to upset Oklahoma.
But look at Oregon. Oregon played Auburn the first game of the year, and Baylor's played nobody in their out of conference schedule. So
I think that's going to become the huge problem.
Yeah.
Is that all these top teams have played each other, and they've all there's not one clear winner. Because you have Auburn, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon. They've all played common opponents to each other, and they've all beat up on each other. I think it's going to be hard for. I couldn't tell you who the best out of all those teams are.
Here's the problem: you can't put Baylor over Oregon, because then you're penalizing Oregon for scheduling a good team out of conference, and you're saying, "Oh, Baylor, you just schedule nobodies, and you can just win out and get in the playoff."
You can't keep an undefeated Power 5 champion out of the playoff.
Well, Baylor's not going undefeated. They're going to lose the next 3 games.
If Baylor goes undefeated, I would still leave them out. You have to schedule somebody out of conference.
Okay.
Yes, I would. I would leave them out. If the scenario comes where it's Clemson, if it's Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama,
why would you
and
leave
Oregon.
Baylor over Clemson? Baylor's going to play more, have a better schedule than Clemson. Leave Clemson out.
But here's what the committee's looking at. The committee, and this is why the committee has Baylor this low. They don't believe Baylor's that good. Even if Baylor wins out, they're still going to think Clemson's a better team. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but Baylor's going to have a top 10 win, and Clemson wouldn't have been a single ranked opponent.
That is true. And Baylor would have 2 wins over Oklahoma, probably. I don't know. It's really interesting. But here's what you can't do. You can't put Baylor in over Oregon, because then you're penalizing Oregon for playing a hard schedule.
interesting. No, I do think they're going to get a team, and I think it's going to be Utah. The Oregon choke is coming. And
oh, my God. Lee Corso was yelling insane. Kirk Herbstreit was giving him so much shit on game day this past week for picking Utah. If Utah gets in, it's going to be hell. It's going to be last week.
I do think Utah is going to get in. They're going to beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. But here's the thing. I think LSU and Alabama are getting in. But
how many teams do you have in your playoff? 8? Do you have 8 teams in your 14 playoff?
Utah, LSU, Alabama. And this is really interesting. I don't know what you guys think here. If Oklahoma wins the Big 12 at 12-1, and Ohio State loses to Iowa in the Big Ten championship, who would get in? Who would get in?
Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on.
No, I'm serious.
No, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Ohio State would get in.
No, you don't have to agree with me, but who do you think would get in?
Ohio State.
I'm not entertaining a rational.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to make a pick on that yet, but I don't know who would get in out of those two.
Well, we're moving on.
They'd have 6 or 7 top 25 wins, and Oklahoma would have 0.
Okay, so this phone.
Maybe 2.
This phone's down to 10%, so we need to hurry this up.
Top 25 win anymore.
All right, let's move on. Florida State fires Willie Taggart. Reaction?
Well, it's whatever. Florida State was a dumpster fire. It is a dumpster fire. Willie Taggart tried to change it. From all accounts, he's a really good guy. They say he's one of the classiest guys in college football. I just think he got a bad draw, bad hand draw to him or whatever. But
yeah.
I think the more important question is how about Deion Sanders for the job? Rumor going around, Deion Sanders is interested in that FSU job.
I don't know what would be worse: Michigan hiring Juwan Howard or Florida State hiring Deion Sanders as their head coach.
Dude, he would have the best recruiting classes every year. He wouldn't be able to coach.
He'd move all his talented players to cornerback. They'd be DBU. Nobody would be able to pass on them.
They wouldn't have to. We wouldn't have the D line. They'd run it right up the middle. Literally, they'd have 11 defensive backs.
All right. Yep. The AD was fired shortly after he was hired, so there was a ticking time bomb for him. There was no chance he was going to stick around. And it was too bad he had to inherit the garbage dumpster fire that Jimbo Fisher left him. It's really unfortunate.
That is such a lazy argument. That is
such a lazy argument? Really? Florida State was in shambles after Jimbo Fisher left.
Yeah, he left that program in prime position.
Yeah, that's why their offensive line was the worst in the country. They're the most undisciplined team in college football. All those recruits are Jimbo Fisher recruits. None of them are Taggart recruits. So, you can blame them all you want.
They have the worst facilities in the Power 5.
Yeah.
That is true. All right, we gotta move this along. So, Chris, put your opinion in there.
What?
Yeah, I'm at 5%. We need to hurry up.
All right. You don't have a charger?
Nope.
Okay. What, did you punch that too?
No, we're not talking about that.
All right. Well, then let's just quickly. I'm going to scroll through the college football playoff rankings. We won't talk about them, and the Big Four podcast rankings. I'll run through them. We don't have to talk about them. We can just get right to the picks. Teams that got votes: Oklahoma State, Texas, Texas A&M, UCF, Illinois, Air Force. App State dropped out, and the rankings going from 25 to 1. Boise State, SMU, Navy, Indiana, Iowa, Wake Forest, Notre Dame, Memphis, Cincinnati, Kansas State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Auburn, Florida, Baylor, Oklahoma, Utah, Oregon, Georgia, Clemson, Penn State, Alabama, Ohio State, and LSU.
I think they're pretty good.
All right.
Get the picks.
Okay, this phone's terrible. I shouldn't have picked this one. Sorry. We're at 3% off. It went from 10 to 3% in like 5 minutes.
There's no charger anywhere.
Nope, I'm in my car.
Okay.
Actually, I could move it to... Wait a second. one.
All right, let's get to the picks. Mike's still in first place after an embarrassing week and having his
Fucking bullshit.
Alex 6-8, another bad week for him. 1 game back. Luke's getting up there. He's coming back 9-5, 3 games back, and I'm also on the climb at 9-5, only 8 games back. Okay,
It's better than last year when you were like 26 games back.
yeah, that was basketball. I had a really bad week. Okay. Anyway, I put the better mascot on each of these slides.
Oh, interesting.
We'll start with Washington at Oregon State.
Oregon State better be on here. No, the Ducks they are. Wait, Washington? No, the Huskies pretty good. Oregon State is. I like their head coach. I can't remember his name, but I like him. They did a feature on him against Ohio State last year. He's building his program, and I think Washington's going to win. I think Oregon State might get a bowl this year, but I think Washington's going to win.
Ooh, that's a hot take. As much as I'm in favor of building the dam, I think he's doing a great job of that. Jonathan Smith,
Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, great coach. He's done a great job there so far. Number 2 in the Pac-12 North. He's worked wonders there so far.
I could take a shit. That would be number 2 in the Pac-12 North.
Okay. Washington is more talented. Will they be a little bit sleepy? Will they, not be ready for this game? Just based on the fact their season is pretty much over.
They're playing for a bowl.
Yeah, they're playing for their pride. I got to take Washington, but if Oregon State wins, I'll feel like such an idiot.
Washington, because their logo's a W for win.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the highest. This is going to set the record for the highest point differential in college football history. This game, Washington is going to win this game with ease. Oregon State has got to be the most big, 4-14 ever seen.
What?
They have not seen anybody.
Okay, well, for Oregon State standards, this is like a 12-0 season for everybody else. So
I know. But I will say, if Oregon State somehow keeps winning and Oregon State is for the Pac-12 North, I will take Oregon State to Oregon. Okay,
Oregon would have to lose.
What do the Pac-12 standings look like?
Oregon State's 2 games back.
Oregon has to lose. Who are they going to lose to? They're going to lose to Arizona State.
that's a tricky game, but I don't think that's going to happen.
From Edwards.
Maryland at number 1, Ohio State.
Well, now with Chase Young out, I think this is going to be a really tough game for the Buckeyes. Maryland's a really good team. They can keep it close. So I'm going to have to go with Ohio State to prevail. And it could be a barn burn.
This is the true definition of big noon. Two of the biggest teams in the Big Ten going at it. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt. Nothing better to watch. This team. This is the game I'll be watching at 12 p.m. noontime. Because it truly is big noon football. I don't know what that thing is, but I know Brutus is better than whatever the hell that is.
No, that's a great mascot.
That's a terrapin.
That does not. No,
How are you going to have a turtle? How are you going to have a turtle as the mascot when Ohio State has had Illy Buck for 40 straight years?
That is true. Ohio State has made a habit of killing turtles in the past. I think they're going to do pretty similar things tomorrow. I got Ohio State.
This compete on dinosaur. Mike, who are you picking?
Ohio State.
Okay, I'm also going to pick Ohio State.
No, I'm going to take Maryland. Duh.
Oh, okay. Okay, number 4, Penn State at number 17, Minnesota.
Minnesota in a landslide. I wouldn't pick them. I think Penn State's going to win the game, but I'm taking Minnesota. So if they do win, I can rub it in Chris's face.
Yeah, if you're on the podcast next week, we'll see. Penn State.
I'm investigated for taking a loan from a family friend.
Penn State Interesting team right here. I don't think they're that great. I think they're solid, good, solid team. Minnesota, good team as well. Better quarterback, Minnesota. Better coach, Minnesota. Better offensive line, Minnesota. Better defense, Penn State. This is going to be a very close game. I'm going to take row the boat. Give me PJ Fleck, 23-20.
Oh my gosh, you did not. All right, this is an automatic win for me next week in the pick.
Listen, Chris. No. Okay. What's his name? James Franklin. He has one win against a ranked opponent on the road in his entire life. Give me a friggin' break.
It doesn't even count. It doesn't count. It does not count.
What do you mean this does not count?
Not
Actually, no. Actually, playing Iowa on the road doesn't count because Kirk Ferentz is a notorious choker in big games.
Minnesota is not a good team. Penn State is going to win this game. I'll make the score prediction. James Franklin is going to try to lose this game. It doesn't matter. It's impossible. 53-10, Penn State. Okay. Baylor at TCU. Baylor. This is the new rivalry game, so I'm taking Baylor.
New rivalry? It's been a rivalry for years, these two.
No, new rivalry. They're going to build Matt Rule's statue right in front of the Gary Patterson statue just to rub it in the face after this game.
All right.
Mike, you like the mascot here?
Yeah. It's got no arms, though, so that's interesting.
Is it the horned frog? You have to take the horned frog over the bear. The horned frog in a TCU baseball uniform.
Okay. Oh, man, this is a classic Gary Patterson game. I feel like Gary Patterson will definitely have his team ready for this. And I wouldn't be shocked if TCU won, but I just like the way Baylor's been playing. That was a gritty win last Thursday against West Virginia. That's a game a lot of teams lose, so I'm going to take Baylor.
Trap game for Baylor here against Oklahoma and Texas the next couple weeks. This is just an easy one. I'm taking TCU.
Okay.
Okay, Purdue at Northwestern. Oh God. It's at Northwestern. Yeah. They can't score the ball. I'm taking Purdue. Northwestern can't even put the ball in the end zone.
Yep. I'm surprised you have Purdue Pete on here. Interesting choice.
Does Northwestern even have a mascot?
Do they? I don't even know. Is it like a really rich college student, maybe? No. Listen, I like Northwestern, but this isn't their year. I'm gonna take Purdue.
This isn't their year. That's the take of the century right there.
Yeah, they're two. What are they? 1-7, 1-8.
1-7. Yeah. They won't make a bowl.
Yeah. If they win out, they might make a bowl.
So is it the academics that get you into the bowls if you're 5-7?
Yeah, it's the Moral Victory Bowl.
I'm taking Purdue. Northwestern's really bad.
Listen, Northwestern's got that big matchup with UMass coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh.
That'll have to be on
Are they
picks.
actually playing UMass? The fact that they are playing these games this late in the season is a joke.
Well, no, because they took their bye early in the year. Might as well play them late. Instead of taking your bye late in the year, you play UMass.
All right, Florida State at Boston College. Oh, wow. Willie Taggart just got fired. I'm taking Steve Adazio and the PC boys.
That looks like the cheapest costume I've ever seen.
The Seminole better be on that.
Are you serious? Yeah, I'm shocked Chief Osceola isn't on here.
No, it's the Eagle. You can't have Chief Osceola. It's not PC. We're gonna get removed from YouTube if we have Chief Osceola.
It's so not PC. An entire university can do a war chant that's offensive to millions of Native Americans, and nobody gives a shit. But yeah, give me Steve Adazio. Clearly, one of the best coaches in the country. Definitely the best coach in New England. Although the main coach is pretty good, but I'm gonna go with Steve Adazio. What?
He's so good you don't even know his name.
Yeah, I don't know his name. But I'm going to take Steve Adazio, the next Michigan State Spartans head coach in this game, 31-5.
Hey Chris, how do you feel? The main coach that won the CAA last year?
Yeah, he's at Minnesota.
He's the Minnesota offensive coordinator.
Defensive coordinator.
Okay. Defensive coordinator. Same thing.
Yeah, and they've had a really good defense.
I'm taking BC in this game. Florida State coach just got fired, so that's a tough situation. Give me the Eagles.
Chris, Chris, what mascot is on this picture? The NC State one or the BC one? I can't tell. Which?
It's both.
It's both. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Tech at West Virginia.
Oh, why are we picking this game? I'm gonna take fucking West Virginia.
take me home, country roads.
To the place where I belong.
This is a classic Texas Tech game. This is a classic game they win that nobody expects them to win. Give me the Red Raiders.
Yeah, nobody's expecting them to win because nobody knows this game's going on.
No, I do. Okay. Number 2 LSU at number 3 Alabama.
I don't think it matters if Tua plays or not. I just think Alabama has one of the top 2 most talented rosters in America. But that's not going to matter because LSU has Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. It's not even, LSU's not going to win this game. Joe Burrow's going to win this game. This is going to be his Heisman moment. He's going to score. He's going to throw 4 touchdowns, and he's going to hit the post. I'm doing it now. I can see Joe Burrow doing it now, hitting the pose all over Death Valley. Everyone's going to hit the pose. The game's in Tuscaloosa. He's going to run to the midfield of the A and Alabama Stadium. He's going to hit the Heisman pose just to stick it to Alabama. LSU and Joe Burrow.
As much as I love Joe Burrow, and it would be my dream to see Coach O celebrating in Tuscaloosa. I just can't see it happening. LSU's defense has gotten a lot better since the Texas game, but they haven't faced a team like Alabama yet this year. I think it'll be semi-close.
Faced a team like Joe Burrow.
That is true. They've literally played nobody. They played Mercer a couple times. So I'm going to take Alabama.
Mercer has the hardest schedule.
I will not be watching this game, but I will take Alabama 38-25.
That's how they're going to score 25.
This is going to be a classic. Classic, I think, no matter if Tua plays or not. I don't really think it matters if he plays or not. I think Alabama's going to find a way to win this game. They find ways to win games. They always do it.
What about the national championship last year? They found a way to win that one.
What about
you can't pick against them in a big game. You can't do it.
I just did.
Big play, but it doesn't happen very often. I'm going to take Alabama. Okay, number 16, Kansas State at Texas.
Kansas State, because I don't like Tom Herman. He goes to too many strip clubs for my liking.
What the heck is that thing? That's not a mascot.
Yes, it is.
A mascot is someone that is a freaking creepy weirdo that dresses up in a costume.
No, that's a mascot.
Devo. He attacked Uga last year at the Sugar
Bowl. Kansas State, great team. I love their basketball team. I love their football team. I love their coach, former North Dakota State guy. North Dakota State won the Landmark Trophy a couple weeks ago over South Dakota State. I think Coach Kleiman will keep that momentum going into Austin, Texas, and I think he'll get a big win. I'm taking Kansas State.
I think they're at home. I think Kansas State, they're not as good as number 16 in the country. They need to come down a little bit. I'm going to take Texas. Number 19, Wake Forest at Virginia Tech.
No, Wake Forest.
Listen, very interesting game here. Virginia Tech played Notre Dame tough. They just choked at the end. Although they were the better team the entire night. And they are the better team.
I want to talk about that. What a drive by Ian Book to end that game. That was one of the greatest drives
Well,
I've ever
nobody
seen.
watched that game, so nobody can really.
I did. I watched the end of that game. I watched the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you only watched them because Michigan beat Notre Dame.
Okay, that might be true, but still.
I like Wake Forest a lot. Coach Clausen, best coach in the state of North Carolina. It's not even close. What are his competitors? The guy at App State lost the game, and that's really his only competitor. I don't see any other coach even coming close.
The guy at Eastern Carolina, Mike.
The guy. Well, that is interesting. That's an interesting choice. I can't even. I'm trying to remember where the guy from East Carolina came from. No, he's the former James Madison coach who won a national championship. Interesting. But no, he's still the best coach in the state of North Carolina. As much as I love East Carolina football, I'm going to take Wake Forest. I think Virginia Tech is going to be. I don't think they'll be ready to play after that tough loss last week.
Yeah, I agree. It's after a tough game against a really physical team last week.
Physical team. Yeah, really physical team.
Okay, Louisville at Miami. Oh my God! Holy shit! I don't. Louisville, I guess.
Oh, this is a classic Miami letdown game. Going into Florida State, getting a huge win, and now they're going to lay an egg against Louisville this week. They did it against Georgia Tech a couple weeks ago. Almost lost to Central Michigan, as Jim McElwain almost got his payback against Miami. Didn't quite happen the way he wanted it to, but I'm going to take Louisville in a blowout.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back in it here with the pick, so I'm going to take Miami because you guys picked Louisville. That's what happened last year, and you ended up going from like 12 games back to 30 games back.
Remember?
Oh, that's not the point.
I remember when
you were really out of it going into the bowls. You were back more games than there were bowl games. Okay, let's move on. USC at Arizona State. Herm Edwards and Arizona State's going to pull it out.
USC. They suck. They're going after Urban Meyer. I'm taking Arizona State. I do think Herm Edwards will own the Pac-12 South for years to come, even with Urban Meyer in the conference. But they will win this year. Give me Arizona State.
Hello, you play to win the game. I am going to take USC in this game. They were embarrassed on national television last week against Oregon. I think they're going to bounce back. I like Caden Slovis. I think he's a big-time quarterback. I think they bounce back this week.
Chris, don't you realize every college football game is on national television?
Well, that one was on Fox, so.
Okay.
Okay. Illinois and Michigan State.
What the hell is that thing?
The Illinois Honor.
What the hell is that thing?
It's the Illinois Honor. I didn't even know Illinois had a mascot. No, it's the Honor.
I thought it was just a big eye walking around.
What the hell? Is it just one with the big jersey on? No, it's the close-up picture of the Otter. Yeah, with his arms in the air. I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you picking? I took Michigan State. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Michigan State. Give me Sparty.
No, I'm taking Illinois. They're a much better football team, much better coach, much better quarterback. And you can't ignore the job Lovie Smith done with Brandon Peters with being a quarterback guru. So I'm going to take Illinois in this game. All right, number 8, Iowa. Number 13, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin in a blowout, 24-5.
That's a Big Ten blowout right there. What the fuck are those weird numbers? How are they going to score 5 points? They're not going to score 5 points. I'm going to take Iowa in this game. I do think Iowa's going to win the West. I really like their team. Wisconsin hasn't been great. So, in the last 2 weeks. So, I'm going to take Iowa. And a much better coaching quarterback, so that's obvious. But, Iowa. All right. Missouri at number 6, Georgia.
Okay, how is this game on here?
Georgia.
So you got Missouri, who was dominated by Kentucky a couple weeks ago, dominated by Vanderbilt. I'm going to take Georgia.
Yeah, I'm taking Georgia. This is an interesting game. This is going to be a very, very good game. People are underestimating this game. Kelly Bryant wins big games. He'll be ready to play.
Oh, really?
But I'm taking Georgia.
He does not win big games. Name one big game he's won when he's at Missouri.
Well, we're moving on, actually. So
Okay, fair enough.
that.
Fair enough.
Washington State at Cal.
Washington State.
Yep.
Oh, really, Luke?
Yep.
Cal can't score. They scored 61 points all year. It's a joke. The only team that scored less points than them is Rutgers.
Yeah. Well, Cal has lost their quarterback. They're having some troubles. I'm taking Washington State also.
And South Alabama. Rutgers and South Alabama are the only two teams in FBS that have scored less than Cal has in conference this year.
Yep, I'm going to take Washington State. All right. Let's move on. Number 15, Notre Dame at Duke. No, it's not the next. That's later. Sorry. At
What the
Washington State
hell?
at South Carolina.
You're like 5
Wait.
slides ahead.
Yeah, App State at South Carolina.
Will we be App State first of all? Just because I want them to win. This is just a heart kick. I want App State to win.
Yeah, give me South Carolina, but what the heck is that thing?
That's their mascot.
Who, App State?
Looks like the freaking Philly guy. The fanatic.
What are you talking about? That's clearly their mascot.
App State's mascot's like named Yusuf. He's like a yodeling guy.
Yusuf?
His name's Yusuf.
Okay.
Okay.
He kind of looks like a terrorist. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. I'm going to take South Carolina.
Terrorist and Amish guy.
All right, I'm taking South Carolina in this game because they're a Power 5 team and App State's not.
Well, if you think about the Sun Belt, if you think about it carefully, is the Sun Belt better than the Big 12? Now that's a argument we can have. You look at App State. Are they better than Oklahoma? Maybe, maybe not. Louisiana Lafayette played a really tough game against, I can't remember who they played in the SEC. They played somebody tough. Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks, always a tough team to play. What other teams do we have in the Sun Belt? Coastal Carolina won the national championship in baseball. Gotta get that in consideration.
Well, you know they're better because they actually have divisions. The Big 12 isn't big enough for divisions.
Exactly. Nobody wants to join the Big 12, so.
Exactly.
Because it's Texas's conference, even though Texas never wins jack crap.
Okay. Number 5, Clemson at North Carolina State.
I'm going to say Clemson, but I'm praying that North Carolina State wins this game.
Well, like Chris said before, this is a nationally televised game, Saturday Night Football, from Raleigh, North Carolina. And Clemson's going to put a just pounding on them. It's going to be like 70-0. Clemson.
That is a ridiculous take, Mike. It is going to be way more than 70 tonight. I got like 150 is my final score prediction in this game.
Well
Well,
played.
they better be careful they don't score too much because St. Thomas put up 97 on St. Olaf and they kicked
Yeah,
out.
they don't want to get booted from the ACC.
Exactly.
They'll just join the SEC.
Okay, number 15, Notre Dame at Duke.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, but give me Notre Dame. I don't think Duke's very good, but I don't think Notre Dame's very good either. But have to go with Notre Dame just because. Whatever, I'll take Notre Dame.
I do think this is going to be a good game. Duke, that's a really tough road environment. I know all their fans are really focused on football right now, especially with the basketball season starting.
Yeah, we'll see.
Really only care.
We'll see if a single Duke fan shows up.
But I'm going to take Notre Dame. All right, here's our last game. Iowa State at number 9, Oklahoma.
Let's go! What's the game? Who are they playing? Iowa State versus Oklahoma? This is one of the biggest games in Mountain Union program history. It's not bigger than any of the championship games. But other than the championship games, it's one of the biggest games in Mount Union history. You have former Mount Union player Matt Campbell, former Mount Union assistant coach Matt Campbell, who's coaching now at Iowa State, who's going against also another former Mount Union guy, a former Mount Union player and coach, and the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, Alex Grinch. This is a huge game, a massive game for the Mount Union program. It just shows how great of a program they are. But I'm going to have to go to Iowa State. Matt Campbell and Iowa State are going to pull the upset because Matt Campbell is one of the best coaches in America.
Man,
I'll be watching this game over any other game. If this game's on, well, Ohio State's on, I'm watching this game. If this game's on, well, the
Well,
other
this game's
game's
at 8
on,
o'clock, so.
well, I'm watching this game. Whatever game's on, I'm watching the biggest game in Mount Union program history.
okay.
Mount Union porn.
Listen, I want to pick Iowa State so bad. Oklahoma very limited on the offensive side of the football. Their defense showed they are very vulnerable. But Oklahoma's at home. I'm going to take Oklahoma.
Nope,
Yeah, Oklahoma easily.
Once the Boomer Sooner wagon went over, it showed you what is going to happen to Oklahoma season.
Oh,
No.
imagine if Oklahoma loses out after their wagon gets destroyed.
They can't bring it back. They can never bring the wagon back ever again.
Oklahoma easily. All right. Anything else
No.
other than Michigan sucks?
Michigan sucks.
St. Thomas got screwed.
Okay, that's going to do it. We'll be back next week with basketball and football. Thank you for watching.
Hopefully Alex will join us. He has the flu. Talk to Chris.